Today's video will be a bit different than normal as I'll be doing the Fantasy Writer Confessions tag. I just thought this would be fun, so I made up some questions that would maybe make some of us writers squirm. So I have 8 questions that I'm just going to answer about my own writing. This can be just published writing, or it could be everything you've written before. I'm going to stick with just my published writing. Number 1 is a trope you've used. The biggest trope I think I'm guilty of using is the orphans trope. The teenage siblings from my Alexia Legends series are orphans, or so they think. So I guess I kind of disrupt the trope a little bit, but it definitely does fall into that orphans trope where, there aren't a lot of adults around, so they're kind of, teenagers who can go off and get into all kind of mischief and get up to adventures without, having too much adult supervision. I like the orphans trope. I think it's fun. And it always leads to those possibilities of leaving doors open, of people come back, maybe you didn't know they were still alive, or you didn't know they existed at all. I don't know. I always think that's fun to read about, so I do enjoy that trope. So I guess it is a trope I'm guilty of using, but I don't feel guilty about using it. Next is a character who changed for the plot. So the first one that jumps out to me is Nick. He's one of the 2 sibling main characters of Alexia Legends. In the beginning, I wrote him a little goofier. Characters' personalities do change from book to book after they've gone through different events of the story, and it kind of, changes them a little bit. They have their character arcs. In the very beginning of the first book, he's much quieter and kind of more serious. Way less goofy, though sometimes, of course, he does have a goofy side a little bit. It comes out when he's, talking to Miri and joking with her, trying to help make her feel better or something. But yeah, in the beginning, he was kind of a goofball, but it didn't really work with the kind of protective older sibling thing that I wanted to do with them. I ended up changing that for the plot, for the character development, kind of for both. It made way more sense for him to be the one constantly questioning things, like, why are we doing this? This is too dangerous, we can't be doing that, versus having them both kind of have that carefree. I wouldn't say Miri is super carefree, but she's definitely more into following her intuition, obviously, and that kind of creates the conflict there that I was really looking to have between them at some points in the story. Number 3 is a darling you didn't kill. I feel like you can answer this in any kind of way. It could be a scene or a chapter, or it could just be a world-building element. For me, I'm doing a world-building element. There's kind of not a pointless world-building element. I mean, I really like it, and I think it adds to the ambience of the world, but it doesn't actually have, a point, really, in the plot. The Arku trees are the giant trees of the forests of Alexia, mostly the northern part, but kind of a lot of the middle land too, based off the size of the giant redwood trees down in California. But the forests are really dense, and so the trees grow these kind of odd magical roots that grow into giant arches that you can walk under. You could walk a horse under a lot of them. Do they really have a function? No, but I think they're cool, so I'm keeping them. Number 4 is a thing based on something else. So for me, these are going to be the burglar wasps in my story. They are based on the South African Cape honeybee, I think that's the name, that clone themselves and infiltrate other honeybee hives. I just like the idea of insect. I changed it to a wasp because I thought that was a little more different. They go into the hives of bees and lay their eggs, and then the wasps inside just basically are freeloaders, and they, eat the honey and stuff, and they live in there, and eventually they overtake the colony, and then all the bees and that colony died out, and so they have to go and find more bee colonies to take over. So I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to use it, and I ended up using it for a little bit of a symbolism kind of thing in the story, so I like how that turned out. Number 5 is a place you would never visit. A place in my world that I would never want to visit is the underground market in the city. A street market like you would usually think in a fantasy book, but I put it all underground because there's not enough space in the city streets. I thought it was cool. I don't know. But it's, always super packed, and there's tons of people walking around, and just seems like the kind of place I would not like to be in because it's so busy. I don't know. There's not really a ton of super scary places. I would say would be the Octri Sea and Gathraman's Pass, where there are a lot of siren activity, but let's be honest, I would go there anyway because that would be just really cool. I would love to go there. So yeah, I guess I would have to say the underground market because it would be so cramped and loud and busy. And most people would probably say one of the scary places, but I wouldn't. Number 6 is a character you'd never want to meet. I have to say Zekta for this one. She is super chaotic and evil and scary. She's one of the main villains. Her personality is very chaotic, and she has kind of this crazy wild energy about her, and she doesn't have much regard for, human life or anything. She'll do pretty much whatever it takes to get what she wants. There's a lot of backstory that I won't explain here that will be explained in later books in the series, but basically she had some stuff happen, and she became a very different person because of them. She used to be more normal. Now she has a chaotic personality. Go with that. Okay, number 7 is a scene you struggled to write. In general, I would say I struggle to write fight scenes. I have practiced a lot, and so I think I've gotten better at them, and they are a little bit easier for me now than they used to be, but definitely I still struggle with, getting the pace right of an action scene, and getting motions, and then getting emotions, and just feeling like I'm getting everything in the right order, and making it flow the way that I'm thinking I want it to. A scene that was hard to write in the first book, I could even talk about the second book now. Now let me think. Okay, in the first book it would be when they are in the forest going from the clearing to Simon's home. The 4 main characters encounter a group of Lacayo. They are basically the personal soldiers and guards of the 2 main baddies in the story. But that was really difficult for me to write because they're kind of running and trying to talk at the same time by saying, go this way and don't do that, and then some other magic things happen. So it's a very chaotic scene, and so it was hard for me to pull a lot of those details back together and get a nice flow to it. The second book, everything from chapter 5 to chapter 30 it was hard to write. I definitely struggled with the middle of book 2 a lot. First half of act 2 was the most difficult. All right, the last one, number 8, is probably the biggest confession. A plot hole you filled in. This question was my mom's idea. Thanks, Mom. So for me, the biggest plot hole that I have filled in or had to fill in would be with the magic. In the first book, when, the characters are still learning about the magic, Nick is like, so we can levitate stuff, but we can't levitate ourselves, so we can't fly. And, Tuco, the old mentor, is like, there's things about magic that we don't understand, and there are limitations to everything. So, pulling out that, hey, limitations to everything. Why are the limitations the way they are? Because. That's it. That's my biggest writing confession, the plot hole. And of course, as this is a tag, anybody can feel free to do it. If you do, comment down below when your video is up with the link. I would love to watch it. That would be really cool. I'll leave all the questions in the description box if you'd like to copy and paste them. Alright, if you'd like to dive into the world of Alexia, you can check out Age of the Gods, which is a free short story I'll have linked down below. Alright, that's all I got for you, so thanks for watching. Bye!